Welcome to Coco's Connection, the podcast where we deep dive into inspiring stories, real conversations, and the connections that shape our lives. I'm your host, Coco, and each week we'll explore the people, ideas, and experiences that help us grow and connect in meaningful ways. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get connected. Hey everyone, welcome to Coco's Connection. And today we're going to talk about something that truly has the power to change lives, and that's empathy. In this episode, episode 4, the title is called Empathy in Actions, Stories That Connect Us. And we'll hear an incredible story about an individual who used empathy to bridge gaps, heal wounds, and created meaningful connections. So let's get started. I want to start out with my scripture, and it's Romans 8:28, and it says, "And we know all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose." And as we deep dive into empathy and how we can put it in action and how it actually connects us together, I want you to know that you are called for such a time as this. We may have seen all the negativity in the world, and we see a lot going on and continue things that are just making the world to seem like it's a dark place, but we know that we have hope, and we have hope in Jesus, and we know that all things are working together for the good of those who love God. So as we dive into this, I want you to just really let me know in the comments. Let me know via email. I'll give you all that at the end. But I want to hear from you guys. I want to know what your takeaway is from it. So let's get started. What is empathy? Because we hear about it all the time, and I hear a lot of people say a lot of people don't have empathy. They don't have things going on. But empathy is the ability to understand and share feelings of another by putting yourself in their shoes. And it involves truly experiencing another person's emotion as if it were your own. And that's not always like a negative thing to connect with someone. You can empathize when they're pregnant, you can empathize when they get married. I mean, you're sharing those emotions. It's not always, I think a lot of times people think that it's such a negative word where it's like, oh, something bad happened, so I have to empathize. But it could be a good thing where you're empathizing, and because you're sharing those emotions, you're sharing those, it says that it truly involves you're experiencing the other person's emotions as if they were your own. So you could be happy for them that they are getting married. You could be happy for them that they're going to school, that they got a new career. So those things are definitely something that people need to understand in order to truly connect. So how does that tie into, a lot of people could get confused with the word sympathy and compassion. So sympathy is actually more of it says is feeling pity or sorrow for someone else's misfortune without necessarily understanding their emotions regarding it. And it often involves acknowledging another person's pain, but from more of a detached perspective. So a lot of people try to synonymously use empathy with sympathy because they are pretty much the same wording, but it's not the same word. The definitions are completely, they're twofold for empathy, but they're specifically in the negative sense for sympathy. And then you have compassion. It goes a step further than empathy, and it not only involves understanding and sharing another person's feelings, but it motivates you to take action and to help alleviate their suffering. So when you have that empathy, it goes hand in hand with compassion. It'll allow you to take it a step further. What can I do for that person? So that's really good. And I believe as Christians, we really need to have compassion, which means we're going to use that and have action with it. And so when we think about empathy, we ask ourselves, you just want to ask yourself, why is empathy crucial for building relationships and understanding diverse perspectives? So empathy actually it fosters deep emotional connections, strengthening personal and professional relationships. It reduces misunderstandings and conflicts by helping people appreciate different perspectives. In a cross cultural interaction, empathy allows individuals to recognize and respect different traditions, values, and experiences. And empathy enhances workplace collaborations, leading to improved teamwork and more inclusive work environments. By cultivating empathy, individuals contribute to more compassionate and united communities. So when you think about that, it's more so we want to make sure that we have that empathy to become more united because as believers we want to unite um, and we want to have unity. And so I think the biggest thing for me, I really that I'm taking away from this is in order for you to truly connect with someone, you have to understand where their background is. And it doesn't always mean that you're going to agree on everything. And I think a lot of times people get focused on we have to agree on 100%. God made us individuals. So I'm a different person here and I'm a different person here. But if we connect, we can join hand in hand. And so we know that when we are connected and we can have those relationships and truly have a can empathize in every aspect of our lives. So I'm going to actually read you a story that really it encouraged me and it's definitely something that really inspired me about empathy. So let me pull it back up. And it's about the story of Daryl Davis. Uh, and it says it's a musician actually who befriended a the KKK member. So with this being Black History Month, we're going to talk about it and how this is how everyone may see um, all the negative things that happen. There are positive things with empathy, and this is actually one of them. So Daryl Davis, he was an African American musician, had spent decades building unlikely friendships with members of the Ku Klux Klan in an effort to understand their hatred and foster change through empathy. In the 1980s, Davis was performing at a bar when a white man complimented his music and expressed a surprise that a black man could play blues so well. During their conversations, the man admitted he was a member of the KKK. Instead of reacting with anger or fear, Davis engaged him in a deeper discussion, asking, how can you hate me if you don't even know me? This question sparked a journey of curiosity, empathy, and a conversation. Davis wanted to understand what drove people to join hate groups. So he started reaching out to KKK members, meeting them face to face, and listening to their perspectives. This is the key without judgment. Bridging the gap through empathy, this is how it all played out. Instead of confronting them with hostility, Davis asked genuine questions and sought to answer their reasoning. By patiently engaging in open conversations, he slowly chipped away at their prejudices. Over time, many Klansmen began requesting and questioning their beliefs and left the organization, which is crazy to think about. So the results through empathy and dialogue, Davis has influenced over 200 KKK members to renounce their membership. That's a big deal. Many of whom gave him their robes as a symbolic gesture of their transformation. His approach demonstrates how listening, understanding, and humanizing others can break down even the deepest divides. So we ask ourselves, why does it matter? Why does empathy matter? And it says Daryl Davis's story is a profound testament to the power of empathy in action. By choosing to engage rather than to retaliate, he built bridges where walls existed, healed wounds rooted in generations of hate, and created meaningful connections that changed lives. And so I want you to understand, like, how do we go about doing this in our everyday life? I mean, that's the goal of this podcast, is to really help and allow you to see practical things that we can do to truly connect in all facets of life. And so we can practice. Here's a couple things I want to little nuggets I want you to take home. So practice active listening. Focus on understanding others without interrupting, and ask open-ended questions and reflect on their words. Put yourself in someone else's shoes. And how many times it's so easy to just be so self fixed on my problems, this is what's going on. But when we put ourselves in the other person's shoes and see situations from another person's perspective, and it also will challenge um, personal biases. It does help us because we can be so self centered sometimes and not even know it. So, another way to really utilize empathy is read books and watch stories from different perspectives, engage with diverse media to expand your understanding of different cultures and experiences. Even there's stories in the Bible from the Old Testament to the even from to the New Testament of how different cultures of we see Esther was a different culture, but God spared her family because she was obedient to him, and she sought after God. Engaging in conversations with people from diverse backgrounds, seek discussions. I mean, there's Facebook. That's a good way, and then you can find like meetups of just different people. I mean, you got to be careful nowadays because but just finding those ways of like different. I've been finding like different mom groups or different things that they have on the groups that they have on Facebook. They have different followings on TikTok, Instagram, you know, all the different type of social medias. And another key, show small acts of kindness. Text that friend. Say, hey, I've been thinking about you. I hope you have a wonderful day. You don't know what they could be going through, and that text could really help them. Also, be mindful of nonverbal cues. Pay attention to if you're in a conversation physically. That's another way to connect. Pay attention to body language and tone, whether it's your spouse, whether it's, your children. And so we have to be empathetic with our children as well. And, we just look at to see if to get a better understanding of emotions and reflect on your own emotional responses. Take the time to process how your emotions affect your interactions. Journaling, prayer can enhance emotional awareness. Ask the Lord to help reveal those things to you. Like, Am I being empathetic? Um am I the one that is showing compassion? Am I showing love? Am I showing that no matter how different we are, that I'm going to, be there for you? And sometimes step out of your comfort zone. It may not, if it's even if it's something that you want to pray for someone. I know for me sometimes it's hard, and I I can remember, like, I know the Lord had spoke to me to pray for someone, and I'm like, I'm scared, I can't do it, and I just didn't know. But I did get out of my comfort zone, and I was like, I know that you've called me to do this, so I'm gonna go pray. And this person had surgery, and so I prayed for them, like held their hand and prayed. So you can do it. The last thing is apologize and forgive. Recognize when you've hurt someone, offer sincere apologies, and seek understanding, um, and conflicts from a different viewpoint. If you've offended, the Bible talks about, if that brother, has offended you, you go to them and you discuss, and open to be open to forgive. And the last one is just lead by example. That's all we can do is demonstrate empathy in your daily interactions, encourage each other, and just practice kindness and understanding. So I just want to thank you guys for joining me on this heartfelt episode of Coco's Connection. And I hope today's story has inspired you to embrace empathy in your own life. If you have an empathy story to share to me, like I said, go to the email. It's Coco's Connection Podcast at gmail.com. Send me a message or tag me on your social media. So, and don't forget to subscribe and review the podcast. Until next time, let's stay connected